This angel never expected that after granting this man the ultimate power, she would be met with a merciless punch. Before she could even beg for mercy, her wings were ruthlessly torn apart. This was because the man knew that the angel before him, who appeared pure and innocent, was actually a maniac who enjoyed killing. To her, humans were nothing more than God's livestock, raised in the confines of this so-called earth. One day, tired of managing these ants, God decided to eradicate humanity with this doomsday game. But a variable arose within this plan. While everyone else knelt in worship to the angel, a man, who was supposed to be their puppet, killed the angel, delivering God's decree. Just moments ago, I secured first place in the death game. The reward was indeed generous. But I wasn't satisfied with just that. I demanded additional rewards from the angel. The moment I finished speaking, a murderous intent flashed in her eyes. She couldn't accept that a mere ant like me would dare to speak to her this way. She wanted to wipe me out immediately. But she realized she had already used her authority. So, the angel prepared to take matters into her own hands. But she needed to avoid the gaze of other players. Otherwise, she would be punished by the higher-ups. What she didn't know was that this was all part of my trap. Soon, I was taken to a secluded forest by the angel. To lower my guard, she turned back and gave me a gentle smile. But before she could react, a powerful punch landed on her face, sending her crashing to the ground. The angel couldn't believe it. She had just been struck by a human. But I didn't give her time to think. I grabbed her wings and ripped them off without hesitation. My purpose in doing this was to rob her of any chance to escape. I knew deep down she looked down on humanity. I also knew her killing ability could only be used once. So, I deliberately lured her here to kill me. Before she could finish her plea for mercy, I drove a blade through her body. And all of this was to become the first person to kill an angel and obtain the unique hidden reward and achievement. This was information I obtained after 15 reincarnations. Not only could I obtain a powerful killing rune, but more importantly, I would be rewarded with a vial of angel's blood. It could allow me to change into the unique hidden class, Reaper. However, everyone can only change classes at level 10. I had to complete it before they did, to secure the valuable rewards for myself. At that moment, the system announced the end of the first trial. Everyone's souls instantly returned to their bodies. It felt like waking from a dream. But around them, the countless corpses made them realize everything was real. Of 18 billion people, only 900 million survived. At that moment, Yongning noticed something strange. She picked up a stone, and with a light squeeze, it crumbled to dust. This proved that the real world inherited the soul's power. But I understood, this wasn't good news for ordinary people. As the players' powers grew stronger, they would evolve into superhuman beings. Even the most advanced weapons wouldn't be able to kill them. To prevent the world from descending into chaos, I had to dominate all the players with overwhelming strength. But for now, I had more urgent matters to attend to. In under 2.5 minutes, I returned home, woke my sleeping younger brother, and set out to find the bully who had tormented him in my first life. My brother had been beaten until he was blinded. Back then, I was too weak. But now, no one could bully my brother. We quickly arrived at our destination. The bully thought my brother had come to give him money. But I suddenly spoke up, demanding he kneel and apologize. He sneered in contempt, thinking my brother was weak, and that I wouldn't be any better. He prepared to beat me into submission with violence. But to his surprise, I easily dodged his attack. My expression turned icy cold. Have you not been watching the news? If you had, you wouldn't dare mess with my brother. Looking at the bully, Jung Tai, lying on the ground, I knew he wouldn't accept his defeat. So, I broke his finger without hesitation. Jung Tai cried out in pain, begging for mercy. I knew he would never dare again. Still, I made sure to leave a lasting impression. After dealing with Jung Tai, I took my brother to the supermarket. I spent all my savings on lottery tickets. Every single ticket had the same number. My brother was furious that I wasted all our savings. I smirked and told him not to worry. These were all winning numbers. I knew very well that many people would die in the future. The world economy would fall into chaos. But the trade of equipment between players would accelerate, and everything would be paid in cash. So, I needed to secure sufficient funds. I then invested the money I won. I spent a fortune buying a luxurious mansion. My brother thought it was too extravagant for just the two of us. But I explained that the more expensive the house, the better the security. Every first day of the month, players' souls enter the game. During this time, we are at our most vulnerable. No matter how strong we are in another world, if we die in reality, it all ends. 2.5 days later, the second round of the game began. I patted my brother on the head, telling him not to worry. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the game world. Everyone recognized me as the previous champion, but they all kept their distance from me. Suddenly, a new angel appeared out of thin air. The crowd wondered why it wasn't the original angel. He explained that the previous angel had an accident. Voting would begin in 2.5 hours. Once voting was completed, players would be sent back to the real world. Hearing that no one would die, the The crowd was overjoyed, but I knew this task wasn't the most important one. The second round contained a hidden quest, but I needed to reach level 10 first. So, I found a goblin on the forest outskirts, and swiftly took it down with one strike. But there were too few monsters on the outskirts. Soon, I ventured deeper into the dangerous forest. Here, countless goblins roamed. For ordinary people, entering this place meant certain death. But I couldn't help but smile in excitement. To me, they were nothing more than prey. Half an hour later, I had leveled up to level 9. Without hesitation, I allocated all my stats to agility. In the early stages, even strong physiques couldn't withstand a fatal strike. But with enough speed, dodging becomes easy. At that moment, I suddenly noticed something unusual. I had been too focused on fighting to realize someone was following me. I raised my dagger and shouted for them to come out. As soon as I finished speaking, a woman stepped out from behind a tree. She quickly apologized, claiming she meant no harm. Then, she called for her companion to come over. But as I got a clear look at the man's face, my pupils contracted sharply. He was the right-hand man of the Demon King, a player with incredible strength. Not only that, but the Demon King was one of the teammates I was looking for. However, I wasn't supposed to meet him yet. Could it be the presence of this celebrity woman that caused a butterfly effect, changing the trajectory of the future? I hated this feeling, because it made the future unpredictable. I asked them why they were following me. The celebrity woman hesitated, nervously explaining that she saw I was the champion, and wanted to form a team. I immediately turned them down. Not only did I not need deadweight right now, but I also needed to level up quickly. With the second round nearing its end, I left without hesitation. The celebrity woman suddenly collapsed to her knees, unable to withstand the oppressive aura. He wasn't the champion for no reason. Unfortunately, she had missed her chance to cling to his coattails. Unexpectedly, I dashed from behind the goblin, and struck with a swift slash, piercing its heart. The noise I made attracted several werewolves. Seeing this, I smirked and calculated. It was just enough to reach level 10. I then took down all the werewolves. As expected, I leveled up to 10. The system announced the shop was unlocked, and gave me a hidden quest. I then took out the vial of angel's blood. This was the key to triggering the hidden quest. Without hesitation, I chose to use it. The next second, the angel's blood transformed into the Reaper rune. This signified I had completed the class change. The system rewarded me with an exclusive Reaper scythe, and a class skill, Death Badge. I was already very familiar with these items. Next, I spent 20,000 gold to buy a tracking skill, and immediately used it to locate Yangming. To my surprise, he was not far from me. It seemed I could observe him from the shadows. Meanwhile, the celebrity woman and her companion were fleeing desperately, but he was injured and too exhausted to move. At this moment, Yangming caught up from behind, arrogantly demanding the woman serve them obediently. Anjay realized escape was impossible. She drew a dagger, preparing for a final stand. Suddenly, I stepped out from the trees, interrupting them, but Yangming waved me off, telling me to leave immediately. Otherwise, he'd deal with me too. I didn't waste words on this idiot. I summoned the Reaper scythe, and informed Yangming that these two were off limits. What I did wasn't out of kindness. Saving Anjay would earn me the Demon King's favor, which would bring significant rewards. Another reason was simple. I couldn't stand scum like Yangming. He was so intimidated by my aura that he broke out in a cold sweat. But I had no intention of letting them off. I sneered, taunting him repeatedly. Yangming was thoroughly provoked by my words. Even though he had witnessed me easily killing goblins, his arrogance from previous victories blinded him. Yangming's strength had improved significantly, to the point where even walls couldn't withstand his punch. This gave him immense confidence, and he even fantasized about beating me up. With this, he clenched his fists and walked toward me. I scoffed in disdain, asking him where his confidence came from. In the next instant, I vanished from my spot. I suddenly kicked Yangming hard in the abdomen, sending him flying more than 10 meters away. I then pulled him up, and punched his face a dozen times in rapid succession. Just as I was about to deliver the final blow, an arrow suddenly shot toward me. I quickly bent down, easily dodging it. The archer was shocked. How could my reflexes be so fast? None of their attacks could hit me. I didn't give this group of ants another chance. I decisively drew the Reaper scythe, and eliminated the rest of the mortals. However, I spared their lives. Next, I found Yangming, who was hiding. Without hesitation, I severed his arm. The intense pain made him wail in agony. I coldly told Yangming to shut up. Compared to the pain they caused me, this was nothing. Seeing me deal with the scum, the celebrity woman hurriedly bowed to thank me for saving her life. But Anjay was puzzled why I didn't eliminate them completely. I gave her a look of approval. As expected, the Demon King and his subordinates were well suited for this game. I then explained, reducing the population wasn't beneficial. Fewer players would mean fewer task completions. Anjay admired how I had thought so far ahead. It was no wonder I was the first place player. I then bid them farewell and left. After all, I needed to focus on leveling up. By now, the election of the regional representative was heating up. Everyone wanted to seize supreme authority. Some even resorted to fighting over it. Until a burly man, fed up with the chaos, pulled out a dagger and killed a nearby player. He then threatened the others, saying they'd suffer the same fate if they didn't vote for him. The crowd was outraged, calling him a murderer, but all they got in return was ruthless slaughter. Choi Gang saw that the crowd was already gripped by fear. If this continues, everyone will vote for him out of fear. Once he becomes the regional representative, he'll be able to command my death. As the first place player, I couldn't allow that. While they fought over the role of representative, I had already leveled up to 16. However, the experience gain was becoming smaller and smaller. Thankfully, the voting period ended, and all players were summoned back to the starting point. Just as I returned, Choi Gang stormed toward me, his confidence inflated by his recent killings. Perhaps emboldened by his success, he dared to demand my submission, promising to spare my life if I complied. I didn't bother with words. I simply drew my Reaper scythe. Choi Gang broke out in a cold sweat at the sight of my weapon. Realizing he had messed with the wrong person, I suddenly ordered him to kneel. Though gritting his teeth in rage, he didn't dare attack. I refrained from striking him, intentionally allowing him to become the regional representative. In the third round of the game, I could make use of him. At that moment, the angel appeared again, giving everyone 5 minutes to vote. Anyone who failed to vote in time would be eliminated. Driven by the instinct to survive, everyone quickly opened their windows and selected their vote. Even so, I chose not to run for regional representative. Instead, I ceded the position and its power to Jung Tai. Sure enough, when the time was up, the angel announced Jung Tai as the regional representative. Jung Tai grinned smugly at the announcement, intending to order my death immediately. But he quickly realized how limited his power was. Although he could forcibly control players, he could only use it 10 times. And it didn't work on players with classes. However, this information was visible only to Jung Tai. He still tried to bluff and intimidate the others. But at that moment, the angel flashed a sly smile, and revealed the regional representative's abilities to everyone. Jung Tai was furious, his teeth grinding in frustration. But he didn't dare show anger toward the angel. The angel chuckled once again. There was actually a hidden class change quest in this round, but it required players to reach level 10 to trigger it. And in this region, I was the only one who achieved it. Everyone looked at me with envy. More importantly, I was the only one who could ignore the representative's orders. Once again, I claimed the title of first place in this region. The angel awarded me 2 additional rewards. Looking at the low-level equipment voucher, I chose leather armor without hesitation. After all, plate armor was too cumbersome, and robes were too fragile. Leather armor was the best option. For the special reward, I decisively chose triple experience points. I knew the third round would have numerous monsters. This was a golden opportunity to level up quickly. After the rewards were distributed, everyone's souls were transported back to the real world. When I returned, I didn't rest. Time was tight, and I needed to find that girl first. She was not only one of the teammates I was looking for, but her abilities were also essential right now. I soon arrived at a lottery store. As expected, the owner looked distressed. My consecutive wins had forced the lottery to shut down completely. I bowed and apologized to her, handing her 10 million as compensation. After doing this, I turned and left without hesitation. Julie, thinking she didn't deserve the money, tried to return it to me. But she didn't realize this was all part of my plan. My goal was to win Julie's favor, so I could easily recruit her as a teammate. After all, she was a powerful unique class guardian. Julie recognized me as her classmate, but I pretended not to know her. Although I felt guilty, this made Julie more curious about me. Sure enough, after my little maneuver, Julie quickly added me as a friend. After I left, she noticed the envelope wasn't returned. Julie's heart raced with excitement. Thinking this was a fateful opportunity, she decided to invite me to dinner. We grew closer during dinner at the restaurant. Julie even revealed her ability to me. It was a buff that enhanced all attributes. The boost was an impressive 50%. I glanced at my stats panel, and praised her repeatedly. It was truly incredible. At last, my objective was achieved. In the first round of the game, I had acquired a random golden egg. While its rewards were random, luck influenced the amount of gold produced. Julie's buff would undoubtedly maximize my gains. At that moment, she handed me a glowing object. I was surprised. She actually had this item. After leaving the restaurant and bidding Julie farewell, I quickly opened the system panel. The item was called a magic crystal, although I couldn't use it just yet. Once I reached level 20, I'd realized just how rare it was. At level 20, players unlocked a combination feature, allowing magic crystals to be embedded in weapons. This enhanced the weapon with various attributes. There were 7 colors of magic crystals, but the rarest was the purple crystal. It was the only one capable of enhancing all attributes, a feature other crystals lacked. I then took out a pouch containing 100 bugs, dumped them on the ground, and stomped on them. This triggered a slaughter effect. doubling my rune attributes. With Julie's buff and the rune's effect, my luck stats skyrocketed. I eagerly pulled out a random money pouch from my inventory and opened it immediately. The next moment, my eyes widened in disbelief. It reached the maximum amount of 9,999 gold coins. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. After all, I had never encountered this in 99 reincarnations. With so much gold, I could finally buy epic equipment. I quickly returned home, opened the shop, and selected a powerful epic necklace. The best part was that it was reasonably priced. A true bargain. I also had a 50% discount voucher. After purchasing, I still had 14,000 gold coins left. I considered buying a set of basic gear, but then realized the third round wasn't particularly dangerous. It'd be better to save the gold for now. Once I had 20,000, I could buy a skill. After all, gear is easy to find, but skills are rare. Fortunately, the next round would have many monsters. It wouldn't take long to earn the remaining 6,000 gold. Soon, the third round began. Players were transported one after another. The unfamiliar environment made everyone nervous. The strange crystal at the town center left everyone confused. At that moment, the angel suddenly appeared out of nowhere. He announced a rule that terrified everyone. Faced with the Holy Angel's system task, all the players fell into a state of panic. The task: protect the sacred artifact from destruction for 3 hours. 1,225 players would advance upon success, but the total number of participants was 4,900. This meant 3/4 of the players would be eliminated this round. Faced with such brutal rules, players shouted angrily about the unfairness. The angel, however, was unyielding. What's unfair? The rules have been the same every round. Maybe you should reflect on yourselves. All this time, did you even try to level up? Did you upgrade your gear? The Holy Angel then began explaining the competition rules. Every 30 minutes, monsters would attack the sacred artifact. Your task was to prevent its destruction. If the artifact was destroyed, you'd face severe penalties. If you completed the task, you'd be ranked by the number of monsters you killed. The top 1,250 players would survive, while those ranked 1,251 and below would die. Although there were many monsters this round, their attributes would be reduced by 2/3. Experience and gold rewards would also be diminished. Regional representative Choi Gang immediately understood the mechanics. Isn't this just about who kills the most monsters? With his authority to issue commands, Choi Gang thought this round would be easy for him. But the angel's next words plunged him into despair. The regional representative may use their command authority this round. However, if the representative dies unexpectedly or is killed by monsters, the position will remain vacant. But if killed by a player, the killer will immediately inherit the role, and the 10 command rights will reset. Hearing this, 4,000 pairs of cold, predatory eyes turned toward Choi Gang. Facing the menacing stares of 4,000 players, Choi Gang trembled uncontrollably. Only I, with my 99 reincarnations, knew how deceitful and sinister the angel's mask of benevolence was. As the 4,000 armed players surrounded Choi Gang, they nonchalantly walked up to him. "Don't be afraid, I'm not here to kill you." Choi Gang, trying to appear calm, couldn't help but ask, "What do you want?" "I can protect your life from harm, but only if you obey my every command." As soon as I said this, the area fell into complete silence. All the players stared wide-eyed, in utter disbelief. Faced with the choice between hope and pride, Choi Gang's ego got the better of him, and he refused. But I had expected this all along. The next step was to sever any ties with him. "From now on, your life or death has nothing to do with me." The players mocked Choi Gang. "Is your dignity worth dying for?" After I confirmed their question, just as they were about to make their move, the system announced that the first wave of monsters was incoming. "Players, prepare for battle." Taking advantage of the chaos, Choi Gang quickly escaped the crowd. I didn't mind him following me from a distance. Then he saw me alone at the monster spawn point. Cold sweat broke out on his back. Facing an endless wave of goblins, I calmly swung my Reaper's scythe. As the crimson blade slashed through, the goblins ahead were instantly reduced to mangled remains. Then, I leapt forward, charging at the Goblin Emperor. Such terrifying power made Choi Gang, who had been following me, tremble. I can't waste any more time. He thought I need to level up quickly too. Just as Choi Gang was about to kill a goblin, a sharp blade suddenly flew toward his forehead. Fortunately, he dodged in time. The blade only grazed his earlobe. Frustrated, Choi Gang muttered, "Since when did goblins start using bows?" Suddenly, a spear-wielding player lunged at his abdomen. Reacting quickly, Choi Gang endured the pain and pulled out the spear. He then yanked it hard, forcing the attacker's body to crash into the dagger in Choi Gang's hand. He then hurled the spear with all his strength, striking the archer square in the face. This scene immediately stopped the sneaky actions of the other players. Amid the chaos of the battle with monsters, a burly man caught Choi Gang's attention. It was Black-Eyed Dragon, ranked 3rd in the region. Without hesitation, Choi Gang activated his command authority. From now on, you're in charge of protecting me. Facing thousands of goblins, I drew my Reaper's scythe. With a gentle swing, the crimson energy ripped through the goblins' bodies. As the last goblin fell, I leveled up to 20. I successfully unlocked the Knight of Death skill, and obtained the Reaper's sigil. Knight of Death turns a 500-meter radius into darkness. The Reaper's sigil doubles attack power during the day, and increases attack speed by 50% at night. While I was momentarily distracted, another wave of goblins suddenly attacked. How could I refuse these practice dummies? Activating Knight of Death, the area was instantly shrouded in darkness. Under the cover of night, goblins' wails echoed. What awaited them was merciless slaughter. After clearing the 3rd wave of goblins, I finally accumulated the required 20,000 gold. To prepare for unexpected events ahead, I immediately purchased the scouting skill. This skill allowed me to detect targets within a 300-meter radius. At the same time, on the other side, Choi Gang was controlling 10 players. To guard him, he thought that if he could hold on for another hour, he would survive and complete the mission. But with the arrival of the 4th wave of monsters, his dream was about to shatter. The 4th wave consisted of powerful werewolves, outnumbering the survivors 10-1. As Choi Gang focused on defending against the werewolves, players coveting his position suddenly attacked. To save his life, Choi Gang forcibly controlled his subordinates to use them as human shields. Using these human shields, he barely managed to escape and ran to me. I'm willing to be your lackey. Please, protect me. I rejected him without hesitation. Having exhausted his command rights, Choi Gang was now forced to face the consequences of his actions. At this moment, Choi Gang was filled with regret. He blamed his damned pride for his downfall.